Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. This is brought to you by Lindsay & Associates with locations in Fayetteville, also locations in Rogers. Lindsay & Associates, we bring great neighbors together. This is also brought to you by Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville, and it's also brought to you by Fun City. You can catch them just off the 412 bypass in Springdale, Arkansas. And if you don't catch us, our live stream each and every day from 1 to 2 of On the Hill. You can catch us on iHeartRadio as OTH runs a podcast each and every evening on iHeartRadio of its top segment. And we want to get off into more SEC football. And we talk SEC Saturday. Sometimes rivalries pop up. And what better rivalry outside of Florida State gets these Florida fans riled up? Now, you can throw in Tennessee, but you have to throw in the LSU Tigers. So we thought we'd talk about that with Gators Breakdowns. David Waters. David, welcome to the Hill, my man.
Thanks for having me again, Pat. Like you said, it is a big rivalry game. You know, you got Florida State, you got Georgia, you got Tennessee. But in recent years, the Florida-LSU game has crept up to be a pretty big game.
Let's get into this game. Florida's coming off a very convincing win over Vanderbilt, having struggled coming off a very emotional win in Lexington versus the Wildcats. LSU's coming off kind of like a wounded cat, having been very stunned in their homecoming ball game versus Troy. What are some things that concerns Coach McElwain going into this big SEC East versus SEC West rival in the Swamp this Saturday?
Yeah, you got to think LSU will be kind of desperate right now. This is a way to kind of save their season, turn their season around by beating a big time rival in Florida. Everything that happened last year with the hurricane and all the bad blood that was, kind of going back and forth between the two teams last year. This has really turned into not liking the opponent type of game. There's a loss of respect from that hurricane deal last year, and these two teams just don't like each other. The players don't like each other, and that's where it is right now. So this LSU team to be desperate for a win. They got blasted out Mississippi State a few weeks ago, surprised by Troy, and this is a save your season for your coach team type of game. It could be a season, a game where the season turns around. It starts the games where LSU's away from Baton Rouge, and what better way to start it with a win in Gainesville? So it is. McElwain knows LSU's not what they showed last week. They're more of I'm not saying they're the LSU of old, and I never thought I would see and call an LSU team soft, but that's exactly what they've been playing like the first month of the season. Is there a switch they can flip to where when they go to Gainesville, they're the LSU team we expect? And I think McElwain expects that team.
When you're Randy Shannon defensively, David, which quarterback do you prepare for? Do you prepare for Brennan, or do you prepare for Etling? Which way do you think they're going to go? Because it's obvious at that position they're really, really, really struggling, and to a degree, in my opinion, it's holding that offense back. Now, I agree with you as well, David. The offensive line, to me, is one of the bigger deficiencies on that football team. But who will they be preparing for on Saturday, or is it just you prepare for both, and whichever runs out, that's who you see as the starter?
With Ed Orgeron earlier this week saying that if he's going to get the start, you prepare more for him, but you still have to have in the back of your mind that Brennan can also come in off the bench if things are not going well. So you have to prepare for both. Florida's had some problems this season with communication in the passing game between the safeties and the linebackers. The middle of the field is really hurting this defense right now in the running back screen game. So you best believe that they're going to get Darius Geis involved in the passing game from the backfield. But also, Kyle Shermer last week for Vandy threw for, I think, about 264 yards. I think off the top of my head, I think that's what it was. And it was a lot of chunk yardage plays, these 20-yarders, these 30-yard plays that he just ate up Florida in the middle of the field. These young freshman corners, they're getting their job done, but there's no communication right now between the safeties and the linebackers. And you have guys running wide open, you have guys going up and making plays. This Florida safety crew with not Marcel Harris, he's out for the year, with Nick Washington and Chauncey Gardner, they're not living up to the billing right now. Chauncey Gardner's he leads the nation in missed tackles, and he gets tackles broken all over him, and Nick Washington's out of position a lot. So, I look for Florida maybe to start bringing more pressure this week, not leaving those guys on the island. The defensive line is good. They're getting in the backfield, but there are times in the games where they go invisible. So even though Randy Shannon likes the 4-3 defense, he's going to have to change some things. He's going to have to go to a nickel more so than he likes. He's going to have to blitz more so than he likes to help the communication problems between the linebackers and the safeties right now.
When you look at this offense, Tyree Cleveland just seems to gain more and more confidence. Now, you had a big-time loss in Del Rio, your starting quarterback going out with a shoulder season-ending injury. How's that about the confidence when you look at Felipe, a guy that was, benched in that ball game, now coming back as the starter? Is there any concern with how he's going to be mentally once this ball game starts against a very talented LSU defense?
I don't think so, Pat. They've played enough with him now. Are there times when Del Rio could be the calming voice in the huddle with his, the way he's been around football so much? Probably. Tyree Cleveland had the big play against Tennessee, and then he played enough last week to, more reassert himself into the starting lineup. He was 10 of 14 for, I think, 170 yards or somewhere along that range. He played pretty well. And there was a couple of throws he wished he would have had back that they didn't result in interceptions, but they were bad throws that could have been picked off. But, he still has a rapport with Tyree Cleveland who goes deep, and those guys have a rapport when you want to go downfield. That's the connection there. We'll see if Tyree Cleveland's healthy enough to play. Jim McElwain said he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. He wouldn't expect him to play this weekend, but Tyree Cleveland did tweet out on Sunday that he's okay. So we'll see. It might be a little bit of gamesmanship from Jim McElwain, but I would expect Tyree Cleveland to play, though he may not be 100%. But with Franks, he needs to rep. He needs to get better. He needs to be out there on the field with his teammates. Now, this running game has been his best friend. We saw the running game take off against Vanderbilt.
Right.
True freshman Malik Davis right now. What a surprise for Florida in these 3 games since the Michigan game of what he's been able to do. And it's been in clutch situations of where you want him. In the fourth quarter so far this year, Malik Davis has 23 attempts for 221 yards, averaging 9.6 yards a carry. He's carrying and putting away these games in the fourth quarter. So Felipe Frank's best friend right now isn't the receivers, isn't really the offensive line. It's in tandem of the offensive line and the running backs. This running game is Felipe Frank's best friend right now.
Talking with David Waters of Gators Breakdown. Also, too, real quick, David, we got about a minute and a half, and I want to ask you just a little bit of a recruiting question, as I know you follow that when you get a chance to. But it's a big weekend, big ball game. Any unofficial or official names that the people in SEC country might need to know about making their way to the Swamp for this weekend's ball game?
For sure. The big 5-star quarterback commit that they have, Matt Corral from California, will be in the Swamp this week, and a lot of commits that are just coming. Jacob Copeland, a wide receiver commit, that's also going to be in the Swamp as well. So you have some your big name quarterback, and it's important for him to be there. Once he committed at Florida over the summer, that's when recruiting sparked. That's when recruiting got rolling for Florida. Now you get him in a home game scenario. You get him around all these other recruits that you're bringing in, all the current commits that you have, and maybe Florida has a good showing on Saturday. Everybody's happy, and you have your biggest commit on campus spreading the word about Florida. Hey, you might pop 2 or 3 more as soon as this weekend's over with. So, Matt Corral from California making his way down to the LSU game is huge for the Gators.
As always, my man, we'll come back, and then you guys yet got another big one from the SEC West, as you guys are going to be taking on the Texas A&M Aggies. We'll talk about that next week, but as always, David, you have a blessed one, my man, and thanks for taking time out on OTH.
Thanks, man.
That was David Waters of Gators Breakdown giving us a lot of information in this upcoming ball game that the Gators are going to be hosting in the Swamp versus LSU. But when we talk information, I talk about the offensive line. And we had a chance to catch up with offensive line coach Kurt Anderson, and this is what Kurt had to say.
I guess what is he maybe trying to put himself in?
Same thing he's been doing, all season. I mean, he's having some good practices. There's some mental mistakes that have hindered him from being able to get in there. Has nothing to do with his ability. He's got great ability. He's made unbelievable strides, and he's had some good practices over the last few weeks. But there's a mental error here or there, and especially late in the week, on a Thursday or a Friday practice. That kind of, as a coach, prevents you from saying, here's someone that I trust in a critical situation that is going to make sure that we're doing the things the right way. The other guys have just done that more consistently. But I got all the confidence in him. I think he's a great kid. He's a hard worker. He's tough. He's physical. He's just got to be more consistent with the mental aspect of the game to earn the trust of his coaches to get on the field.
You still feel like he's probably play 6 or 7 guys this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problems playing 6 or 7 guys for the rest of the season. And if they're playing well, and we got guys that have unbelievable ability to go out there and play in those games, in those situations, which rests our legs and gives guys an opportunity to take a series or 2 off. It means that you're fresher and stronger for a fourth quarter game, which, as you guys know, in the SEC West, this is going to be a 4-quarter games from here on out. So I think it gives us an advantage. Most teams are struggling, in my opinion, to field 5 guys when you got 7 to 8 guys that can go out there and play. And you look at the Texas A&M game. We played 3 different lineups, and all 3 different lineups scored touchdowns. You rush for 200 and some yards. You throw for however many yards you have, over close to 500 yards of total offense. You're doing something right up front. I'm proud of where we're at. You think about it. I mean, we're something like 36th in the country in rushing or something like that. We're first in the SEC in third down efficiency, 10th in the country in third down efficiency. We've been spectacular in short yardage and goal line situations. We've been awesome in the red zone. With the exception of a couple missed field goals, I mean, you're talking about almost 100%, which is really good. So I think we need to get better. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. There's plenty of room for us to get better. We gotta keep the quarterback cleaner. Some of those hits are coming on screens that are resulting in explosive plays. But at the same time, if we can hold that just for a tick before we release and get downfield, he's not taking a shot as he's releasing. And so we've got to continue to get better and work that. And we worked that post practice today.
Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition. That was Kurt Anderson. We're going to take a quick short break, and then we're going to continue to talk SEC football as we head down to College Station and catch up with Aggie Yale's Fletcher Wheatley. He's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins. Back in a moment.